Hello and welcome back. Happy Arvo. Sorry I've been away for a little bit. I've been busy. Meet Jace. 3 days old. I've just been busy, showing him all the different things about the world, telling him all about Australia. It's a pretty cool place. I'm going to go put him back in his swing because he was super mad at me when I took him out of his swing to come film this video. But, the camera loves you, Jace. Yeah, he's going to go back in his swing, and I'll be right back, guys. I just wanted you guys to see him. One sec. Okay, Jace is back in his swing. He was a little bit upset at first, but he is perfectly happy. He told me to tell you guys, happy Arvo. And today I've got this interesting video. Australia versus United States, who would win? Military comparison. Now, guys, I know that the U.S. stockpile of nukes is like ridiculous. So it would be interesting since Australia is an island. I don't ever want to go to war with Australia. Okay, I love Australia. I don't even like thinking about this, but it is interesting. But who would win? I think that we have too many nukes to really, yeah, I think we could just blow the whole thing up if we really, for some reason, wanted to, but I don't think we should or will ever do that. That would be dumb. And you Aussies, I guarantee you would inflict some serious pain on us if we tried to do that. So, because you guys are tough. This is such a weird question. Who would win? All right, well, let's see what this video has to say. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the Aussies have something up their sleeve. I'm sure they have a fantastic naval military. Let's see.
This video is sponsored by Vikings War of Clans, a game that gives us that nostalgic feeling of the 90s and 2000s when the best strategy games were being made.
Okay.
July 4th, 7th. Successful start. Now, let's get to the main part of our video.
Yeah, let's get
Backed
to
by
it.
popular demand is another military comparison. This time we are featuring two fairly new countries, nations that at one point in time were colonies of the United Kingdom. The USA gained its independence on July 4th, 1776. Australia gained its independence on January 1st, 1901, when the Brits passed legislation to give the 6 Australian colonies the right to govern themselves under the Commonwealth of Australia. Unlike the USA, the country sometimes called Down Under has not vied for world dominance, although it has enjoyed a fairly good standard of living and economic prosperity. The countries are certainly not enemies unless you play Grand Theft Auto, which pits them head-to-head in a fictional conflict.
Really? I didn't know that. Grand Theft Auto pits Australia versus USA.
How would they fare against each other if that were a reality? That's what we're going to find out today in this episode of the Infographic Show, Australia versus the United States. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can...
These videos are super interesting. If you've ever seen any of them, I saw some other countries compared.
be part of our
Just
notification
fantastic.
squad. Let's start with Australia. At around 2,969,907 square miles, the country is the 6th largest in the world. Much of it is uninhabited, as many of Australia's population live close to the coast on different sides of the country. If you look at population density maps, you will see just how much of Australia's 24,659,200 people are huddled into small chunks of the country. Australia's indigenous Aboriginal people may have lived in the harsh environment of Central Oz, but for most Australians, much of their huge country is a no man's land. Australia's nominal GDP for 2016 was $1.257 trillion,
Woo!
making it the 13th
a lot.
largest GDP in the world, just above Spain and just below Russia. GDP per capita is $49,927. Now, let's turn to some USA basics. The USA is also a very large country at 3,797,000 square
Really not that much bigger.
miles, although it's way more crowded than Australia. This
Right.
makes it the 3rd largest country behind Canada and Russia, although it is very similar in size to China. It has a population of 325,365,000.
Wait, it's similar in size to China? I thought China was much larger. No?
The US GDP is $19.417 trillion and $57,466 per capita. We could say the US has the world's biggest economy, but many experts now say this is China. The International Monetary Fund, CIA Factbook,
Many experts say it's not.
and World Bank all say China is number 1. An interesting article recently published by Pew Global explains that various countries around the world have a different opinion on who has the biggest GDP, with slightly more countries believing the USA is still the larger economy. One thing we know for sure is that the USA spends a lot more on its military than any other country in the world, and by a country mile too. Its military is regarded as the strongest in the world.
Which is why asking, it would be hard for anyone. Sorry about the cough. It's still left over from my battle with number 19. Hopefully that goes away real soon. But anyway, asking whether the USA would lose to someone, they'd have to just like have some crazy tactics, because we just spend so much freaking of my money on the military. They better be able to beat
the world, and it probably
anybody.
should be, with a $611 billion defense budget, which is about 3.3% of the GDP. That was for 2016, and sometimes the figure is stated as slightly less. For 2017, Donald Trump's budget for defense is around $587 billion, which is by far the biggest chunk of the USA's discretionary budget. More than a third of that goes to operations and maintenance, with just less than a quarter on military personnel. The most expensive program at the moment are those rather pricey F-35 Joint Strike Fighters. The budget for those alone was $11.6 billion in 2016 and will be $10.5 billion in 2017.
I don't understand that. Where does all that money go? Just developing one freaking
To
plane.
put that into perspective, the Environmental Protection Agency is allocated just $7.65 billion for 2017.
That better be a badass plane.
Australia doesn't spend much by comparison, but is still 12th on the list of the biggest defense spenders in the world. Some sources put Brazil ahead and some behind. For 2017, it will spend 24.1 billion US dollars. According
Nothing to scoff at.
to the Australian government, it's going to spend big over the next decade, with some military media stating that the country intends to become a lethal military force. The Ministry of Defense said recently that it has
Dang,
a
Australia.
commitment to security and stability around the globe, as relations between various countries seem tenuous at the moment. Much of the money spent will go to the Navy, which is not surprising given the country's geographical location. It has also joined in the spending frenzy on the aforementioned F-35 Joint Strike Fighters.
Oh, really?
What do these two countries get for their
Hey, I appreciate that. I have a feeling that's where a large chunk of my taxes are going to, so.
money? In terms
Thanks
of
for
feet on the
pitching in.
ground, out of the USA's 325 million people, 1.3 million are
I like the kangaroo.
active military personnel, and a further 811,000 act as reserve personnel. This is much larger than Australia's 61,000 active personnel and 21,000 reserves. Not surprisingly, the USA also has a lot more land equipment. In total, it has 5,000
I'm just waiting for him to say all these stats and then be like, but Australia would win because they're just a lot smarter.
884 tanks, 41,000 armored fighting vehicles,
But seriously, how could anyone? It's not a fair battle.
self-propelled guns, 1,299 towed artillery, and 1,331 multiple launch rocket systems. Only China and easily Russia outgun the USA when it comes to tank strength. This also includes some of the most fierce land equipment ever, consisting of the mighty M1 Abrams tank, the world's best according to some pundits, the M109A6 Paladin self-propelled gun, and the tried and tested TOW anti-tank missile. Australia has just 59 tanks, 2,040 armored fighting vehicles, 0 self-propelled artillery, 75 towed artillery, and 0 multiple launch rocket systems. It does have some good tanks though, which in the past were the
Australia, I love you guys, but I would say what I'm learning here is just don't piss off the US. I'm really glad we're great friends because you shouldn't piss us off until you guys do your thing where you apparently are going to ramp up all your spending and build a bunch more tanks. I mean, we have 100 times more tanks. I don't know how we would get them there, but
highly rated Leopard 1s, but they have been replaced with M1 Abrams, just in much smaller quality than that of the USA. Where the United States exceeds every country on the planet is with its Air Force. As you know, the US is not shy on spending big here, and it is almost spoiled for choice. It has around 13,444 aircrafts in total, many of which are the best ever made. This includes scores of F-22A Raptors, F-16 Fighting Falcons, F-15
they have the coolest names for these fighter jets.
E Strike Eagles, and the expensive F-35A Lightning II.
Is that to get high school students to sign up for the Air Force? Is that why you guys name it like Super Hornet?
The US also has a large fleet of the McDonnell Douglas CF-18 Hornets, some of which have been converted to FA-18E Super Hornets. We already know Australia has spent on the F-35, but a rather startling piece of news emerged in September, and that was that its 2 brand new F-35s have a major problem. They don't work, according to Australian media. The USA has also had its fair share of problems trying to get these things combat ready. Australian news reported that the planes will likely require many million.
I swear somebody out there developing these planes is doing it on purpose. Oh, you spent 11 billion bucks on the plane and it just doesn't work? I'd be mad.
Being sunk into reconstruction and upgrade before they are fully capable of fighting on the front line. The country has a total of 465 aircraft, just over 150 of which are fighter and attack aircraft. It also has a small fleet of FA-18F Super Hornets and FA-18A and B Hornets, as well as EA-18G Growlers. As for the Navy, global firepower puts the USA as the 3rd strongest behind China and North Korea. This is only in size though. It puts Australia down in 54th place. In total, the USA has 415 ships and Australia has 47 ships. The US has a total of 11 aircraft carriers, 22 cruisers, 67 destroyers, 8 frigates, 75 submarines, 0 corvettes, 9 amphibious assault ships, 11 mine warfare ships, and 55 patrol ships. We also have to take into account what all wealthy countries want, and that's a huge super carrier. America may have the best in the Gerald R. Ford class super carrier. Australia is also one of few nations to own
I just think about how much money I pay in taxes toward this crap.
Aircraft carriers. While they might not be the behemoths of the US Navy, the almost new HMAS Canberra and the HMAS Adelaide are impressive beasts. The Aussies also own 11 frigates, 0 destroyers.
Hey, you guys have more frigates than us. Whatever the heck that is.
0 corvettes, 6 submarines, 13 patrol craft, and 6 mine warfare ships. Another thing, as you all know, the USA owns just less than half of all the world's 15,000 nuclear weapons. Australia doesn't have any and doesn't seem interested in developing them. It does, however, have aircraft
that's very mature of you, Australia.
That could deliver them. In conclusion, these 2 countries have been strong allies for a very long time. If anything did happen to break that bond, America is far too powerful for Australia. The only chance Australia would have is that...
I like how they made this whole video. Who would win? And at the end, it's just like, it wouldn't, it's not America.
That bond, America is far too powerful for Australia. The only chance Australia would have is that harsh environment its people are used to living in. Maybe all those dangerous creatures that inhabit the country would get on side. So, what do you think of this theoretical matchup? Does Australia possibly stand a chance?
What do I think? I think that we're never going to go to war because we love each other. We love Australia. Australia, from what I've seen, Australia likes the United States, which is awesome because not a lot of people do. So guess what, Australia? We will send our nukes. We'll send our ships. We'll send whatever the heck. If anybody's got a problem with you, call us up. Anyway, that was fun. Those are super interesting just to see how many, all the numbers with the different militaries and stuff. It's very interesting. Yeah, I think we should stay friends. Let's not fight. Thank you for watching. Happy Arvo. Hopefully I'll be able to make some more videos like every day from now on. We'll see. With the baby being born. I don't know. Regardless, thank you for subscribing for more Australian reactions and stuff. I'll see you hopefully tomorrow. Goodbye.